Warning, this content is for entertainment and educational purposes only. All right, folks, Big Paul here today with a free preview of the Science of Anabolics and PEDs E-Course monthly Q&A from October. This is a section where Kurt Havens and I talk about the great debate between Pharma and Generic HGH. It just doesn't seem to die. We've talked about this one several times, but it just keeps coming back up. I get people asking me all the time, which is better, Pharma or Generic? We'll give our thoughts. There's no absolutes on this. You talk to 20 different professional bodybuilders, you'll probably get 50-50. One will say that it's Generic, one will say that it's Pharma. People will say don't waste your money on Pharma. For me, if I'm going into a contest and I don't want to leave any stone unturned, nothing up to chance, I am going to opt to use the best. That's my 2 cents. If you're not a competitive bodybuilder, probably running generics is just fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Anyway, we're going to dig into all of it in just 1 second. If you want to check out the e-course, we'd appreciate that too. We do have a free preview of it up. The link is in the video description below. There's over 100 modules with 50 plus hours or so of content available. Go check it out. After the Michael Pekic, I don't know how you say his name, from Janishik. We should get him on and talk to him sometime.
The GH thing?
Yeah, regarding Brian S., regarding the generic versus pharma GH discussion on the anabolic roundtable. If the most I can afford is 4 units of Serostim a day, would I be better off buying a higher dollar or a dollar equivalent of generics and running a higher dose?
I would probably say no. Or mix, right? You've mixed before.
That's usually what I do.
What if you ran 3 or 4 Serostim and mixed it with whatever you could afford, a Metatrope or whatever brand you're talking about?
Yeah.
I hate to say it, they're not the same. And when you run both of them, and so the problem is if you run, I think Chase was kind of alluding at this on the podcast. The problem is a lot of guys will run smaller doses, like 2 to 4, and then they'll try to make a comparison between the two. And it's really hard to decide at that level what you're really getting from it, right? Because you're not getting a ton. And they both work. It's not that generics don't work. They just don't work as well. Right?
Yeah, and you talked about it this weekend. You touched on it. And I think what people don't understand, and it seemed like Michael probably didn't. I mean, Michael's a chemist. I would assume that he would get this, but maybe he just hasn't thought this through thoroughly. The difference between the two, while the generics, what Michael was saying, I'll back up here for a second. What Michael was saying is that the generics, as far as purity, test out pretty close to what most pharma is, and sometimes even better, and the dimer is pretty similar. But what you were saying, you had talked to a chemist, it's all the additives that they put in that change the Daltons and the molecular weight of the compound that affect absorption.
Yeah, so when you look at any drug, right, generally the rate limit is how much you can absorb, right? Even vitamin C. The amount of vitamin C that you can take is limited by how much your intestines can absorb, otherwise it causes diarrhea. If you look at growth hormone, I mean, this has been studied a million times. The effectiveness is a lot of times through the rate of absorption. Technically, the best method of absorption is IV, but no one in the right mind, and please don't do this at home, do not shoot growth hormone IV. You'll absorb more because directly in the bloodstream. When you shoot it intramuscularly, you absorb a ton less than you do when you shoot it sub-Q. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense to people. I can give you the numbers if you want. It's designed to be shot sub-Q because it absorbs better. When you then add Baloxone and other polymers to it and all these other fillers, it doesn't seem to absorb at the same rate. And you've changed the molecular weight of the whole thing. So it's just not assimilating correctly, and it's not getting in the blood at the same level. That's really what it comes to. And within chemistry, there's different types of chemists. The guy I spoke to was a protein chemist. So all he deals with is things like peptides.
Mm-hmm.
This is like his specialty because he designs things like semaglutide, right? Whereas I don't look at those chemicals per se. I deal with more cholesterol-based molecules. So, everyone becomes very focused on what they do. I don't have all the answers for the protein stuff.
Well, just on a just stupid bro logic level, you can look at it when you mix the damn stuff.
Oh yeah, well, just it takes 5 or 10 minutes for the generic stuff to mix, right? Serostim is immediately ready for
Yeah,
injection.
it's immediately.
Immediately.
Yeah.
So, and also you can see when if you use a bigger amount, if you shoot a bottle, half a bottle, you pull your skin, stick it in there, like the lump forms immediately, and then it goes right away. Whereas the generic stuff will leave a lump for an hour or two.
Yeah, sometimes
And honestly,
longer.
some of the cheaper generic stuff that I've used has left a lump for days.
Days, yeah.
Like I used one once, and it literally left lumps all over my stomach for days.
Yep. I just had a client complaining about that.
It sucks. And I hate to say it because it's not, I don't want it to become a financial thing for people. It's just the reality of it. It's just not the same. If it were the same, see, and that's why we got to be careful with the term generic. I say this in my book. The term generic with the pharmaceutical means that it's made to the same standard as the actual original thing. It's just made by a different company, without a name on it. This is underground lab. It's not made to the same standard at all. Like the German company Merck, it's different than the US Merck that owns Emu Serrano that manufactures Serostim, is manufacturing that stuff to a whole different level of purity than what they're doing in China. It's not even close. So it's unfortunately not necessarily comparable. If you're going to use 2 or 3 units, I don't know if you'll notice a difference. If you were to use a bottle a day, it's a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, here's my thing. Look, if most guys don't have the money to go blow on Pharma GH, probably running the generic is better than nothing.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I was trying to find you.
But my other argument is it's like, I've heard some other gurus saying that you don't need to waste your money on it. But here's my thing. Like if you're a top level competitor, why would you want to leave anything to chance?
No, and all the guys in the Olympic stage use Serostim, except John
every one of them.
It's the only one I know that uses generics.
Yeah.
So for somatropin in general, not just Serostim, for any GH, but again, the stuff that's tested is never underground lab. No, like I'm not ever going to conduct a study and buy Metatrope because you can't even bring that into a pharmaceutical company. So it's going to be genotropin, omnotropin, Serostim. One of those, basically the bioavailability for subcutaneous is 75%. The bioavailability for intramuscular is 63%. So bodybuilders that are sticking it in their biceps, trying to get spot growth, they're losing GH for no reason. It's not making it better. There's no such thing as spot growth. It's not hitting any receptor there and doing anything. It still has to enter circulation.
It doesn't cause localized growth anyway.
You can't. That's inflammation. Like even when you stick something in a muscle, it's just going to. If that were the case, my ass would be enormous. I put 1 million milligrams of drugs in my ass.
And then people get obsessed. Like I saw somebody else talking about how his IGF-1 was no higher on 9 units than it was on 18. The systemic IGF-1 is irrelevant.
We don't use it, and it's almost frustrating that I have to keep repeating it because in the science world, it's just a known obvious thing. Like we don't look at that test. We're not looking. You don't test IGF because you're looking to see if someone's in an anabolic state. Doctors don't give a shit. We're looking to see if they have cancer, they have a pituitary adenoma, they have a growth disorder. That's what we're looking at when systemic IGF is elevated, right? Tumors can secrete IGF. We're looking for abnormalities. We're not looking for, oh my God, this guy's going to be huge and muscular. I've seen guys with 2,000 serum IGF. They are not big, right? They have a gigantic non-cancerous tumor pushing on the pituitary gland. They're not. There's no muscle. There's no like muscle response there. That's bound. Yeah. Right. The same with. I had a guy message me today. This was actually the most refreshing thing I've seen in a while. A doctor DM'd me today, and he said he was unable to find anywhere in a textbook that estrogen helps IGF production at the liver. He said, "Can you just clear that up because I think some people say that?" And I was like, "No, you're correct. Estrogen doesn't help IGF. It blocks IGF in the blood. It's like an anti-anabolic."
Yeah, that's another.
People are catching on.